I'm doing pretty good, and how are you, Sharky?
Whoa. Just jump in like that, not like a hello. I'm fine, mate. What's happening?
Just checking you're paying attention. Welcome to Driving More, folks. It's obviously that time of the week again, Tuesday, 11 a.m. here live on Loud Radio. We'll be here every week as much as possible. Plenty of rugby to talk about. Very exciting Community Cup game of rugby down at Hammy's on the weekend.
But very, more importantly, can we get an aircon?
No.
Yes, okay, straight into the Community Cup. What a cracker of a game.
I will be honest, I was very surprised when you told me that it ended up being what the score was, because I thought Wanderers had got up. The last I saw with a minute to go, they were leading by 37 points to 34 or something daft.
Yes, absolute cracker. It was the Hammy's second game of the tournament, and up against Wanderers, who are quite an old club as well. I think they're 40 years or 30 years younger than we are. And we've not played them... Sorry, I lie. We have not played them in 40 years, I think, and they're a bit younger than us. But yeah, they came out charging. They came out and I thought to myself, there's no way they're going to be able to maintain for the whole game. They did. And they did slack off a little bit every now and then, but they again kept them momentum. Big bunch of boys.
I mean the 40-all was the final score, and they were leading at one stage quite comfortably. Then got a yellow card, and then an absolute belter of a try from that massive number 6 or 8 of yours off the back of the line out. They missed their own jumper, and he's collected it and stepped and scythed his way through and crashed over.
Yeah, Neil Cleghorn.
That's it.
But I tell you, they were leading not comfortably. They were leading 5-0 to start off the game, and then we snuck into a 7-5 lead, and eventually they took a lead just before. Sorry, we took the lead. The lead changed hands in the last 10 minutes of the half. In the beginning of the second half, in 3 minutes, they scored 2 converted tries. They absolutely ripped us apart, and all of a sudden we were trailing 26-17. They got a yellow card, and then Pierre Francois Hannekom, you can decide what you want to call him. We normally call him Pierre. Went over, big guy, and then Cleghorn did well to score that try. They then came back and scored, and then we were basically under the pump and chasing the game. And 82 minutes in, Monty Dumond on the right hand side, and he's a right-footed kicker, had to smash a penalty through to draw the game. And he did it, and what an unbelievable kick. And both sides walk away with 3 points. It's a bonus point draw each, with Wanderers scoring 6 tries and Hammy scoring 4. So
humdinger.
Absolute cracker for the neutral. Not really much for Hammy's boys. We really wanted to win that, and same for the Wanderers guys. I think both sides could have won it, but you can't really complain at scoring 40 points. You can complain about conceding them, and I think it's a simple fix, a defensive pattern, as opposed to a lack of attacking ability. Wanderers missed plenty kicks though. To be fair, their fly half, and then eventually their left winger was doing the kicking. They struggled a little bit, thankfully for the Hammies boys, and now Hammies are away at Villages Worcester this weekend. And it's 40 degrees now, and I'd hate to know what's happening out that side.
And some of these sides have got some cracking names, because I'm just going to run through the results. And the Vaseline Wanderers, it was going to right itself if Hammies had put them under the pump. Not to be. Velkom Rovers losing to Collegians out of Durban, 30 points to 12. Dispatch getting up over West Bank. And then Durbanville getting up 73-19 over Springs. A big win for them.
Massive. They needed it after last week. They were ahead last week and ended up losing Durbanville. And to put those points on the board at your first home game is phenomenal.
And then Pretoria Police getting up over Crusaders from Bloem, 31-26. But the best name I've ever seen for a rugby team, possibly any team, because I cannot fathom how these guys ended up getting sponsored by this company, Don's Pawn Shop PE Police. Getting up 15-8 over Kempston Old Selbornians.
Yeah, it was interesting rounds. round 3 is the big this week now coming up is the big one where you'll start seeing the groups taking shape, and the guys are pretty well focused on the Easter weekend finals tournament. So we'll see what's happening. Hammies are scraping in, and Wanderers. To me, it looks like Hammies and Wanderers will go through in top of Pool C, I think it is, and others there's some clear cut leaders in some, but there are some where anyone can qualify.
Cracky, there's 4 pools, and only half of them played this weekend. Then
they're not 4 pools. I think they're more.
Not according to what I've seen.
Okay. I'm not entirely sure.
It's 4 pools, 20 teams. A, B, C, D. Yeah, Hammies are top of their group. Wanderers aren't actually are floating around 4th, but they've only played one game.
Yeah.
This is correct. On to some Varsity Cup action, and we may as well start with our local team in terms of the Ike's Tigers and our dear friends, the CUT Azaleas.
CUT versus UCT. That was an absolute balls up for everybody yesterday.
But it was a balls up for CUT too, because UCT thumped them 90 points to 8, and it could have been worse. They played for 10 minutes with 14 men, did UCT?
Yes. Very interesting result. And Tank and I had a bit of a chat on Twitter because he said that UCT will win by 25, and I was like, what? I said, I think they're going to win by 40, and I was even horribly wrong. I mean, it was an 82-point lead.
It was, and they were 68-0 up before they conceded a try.
Yeah.
So the Cut are the whipping boys.
They are, and you expected UCT to get a bonus point win out of that, but I tell you, the big surprise of the day was
Shimlers.
Yeah, Shimlers. Marties went to Shimlers in Bloem and went to play, and it was actually not the most interesting game to follow, but I think it could have been a real massive game of brute force and stuff like that. But at half time it was 16 all at half time, and then in the 64th minute Shimler scored a try to go 21-16 up, and that's how it stayed. So the second half wasn't too eventful, but either way, Marties lost, and Marties have not won a game after 3 rounds in the Community Cup, in the Varsity Cup, which is quite sad.
4.
Is it 4?
2 draws and a hiding last week.
Sorry, 4. Sorry.
That's it, which is even worse than 3.
Correct. And then Picker hosted Tickies. Now those two games
must have been a crack.
Yeah, those 2 games were not televised, and those 2 games were the games of the weekend, in my opinion. But what an unbelievable game! At one stage, Picker were up 10-0. Then Ticks came back and were leading 21-10. Then they were leading 29-26. And then had a 37-34 lead, and in the 79th minute, with nothing left anywhere to go, Picker steal it at the death with a converted try, winning 42-37. Absolute cracker of a game.
And then UJ thumping the Madibas in PE in the howling wind, and a bit of a surprise in that one, because aside from the size of the scoreline, just the fact that Madibas got undone that badly at home, and the second big loss in a week in 2 weeks for them.
Yeah, I've been a bit quiet, but I've been watching NMMU this year, and they just don't seem to have what they had last year. And they don't. They're still going on last year's reputation and the year before, where they were building up their rep. And this year they seem to be falling off a little bit. And UJ did well to dispatch them, and NMMU really didn't have a hell of a lot. The white card is being brought in a hell of a lot into the games in terms of influencing like scores, and where they had to disallow a try. Oh, sorry, that was in the UCT game. They actually disallowed a try after the conversion had taken place. And so because a white card came out, it was worked correctly. Everything was fine. It was just quite weird. But I tell you, the one person you've got to watch for NMMU, and it's their try scorer and captain, is CJ Velleman. He's a youngster. He was in school last year, and he's captaining them, and he's playing loose forward, and he's pretty handy. He's a big guy, and he does his job exceptionally well. A lot of the PE boys say that they reckon he's going to be a book. I think he'll play Super Rugby. I'm not sure about the book just yet, but he is very young.
They've got the big number 11 winger of theirs who looks like he's got some proper pace to burn. because the one try that the Madiba scored near the end, someone's intercepted it and run away from everybody, and that winger's caught up with him.
The
and
guy with the dreads.
Yeah, he's running at full tilt. But
he had to turn and still chase him.
No, he was running in support.
Are you talking about UJ's?
Maybe it was UJ's. Anyway, one of them. Somebody's got a big winger that has got some proper gas. I'll find the clip and we'll figure out which one it is. UJ playing orange. Yes, I keep thinking I'm getting my tits in a tangle. We'll find him for you. The log at the moment is quite interesting because from 1st to 5th is wide open in terms of who's going to make the semi-final spots. Ikes are in 5th on 13, but Shimla's are top on 16. So there's a 3-point gap between the 5 of them.
And Ikes were leading after the opening game. They were actually topping the log. So and now to be pushed out of what would effectively be the knockout placement. So it's very tight.
And then Marty's and NMMU hovering above CUT. Fixtures for next week are not coming up as quickly as I'd like them to.
It's fine, I'll give them to you in a sec. Opening up the day, the first game that's televised is Marty's UJ in Stellenbosch. That's going to be a cracker. Marty's are properly under the pump, and UJ would definitely reckon they could grab a win out of that. Then the 2 6 games, NMMU versus Shimla's. I think Shimla's are going to pump NMMU.
Shimla's are certainly looking at a
decent
bet for a home semi.
Second game at 6:30, Tikkies versus CUT. That's going to leave a proper mark there. Their points differential, Tikkies might hit 100. And then the final game of the day, absolute cracker, 7 o'clock kickoff. Pika will host Ikes.
And Ikes haven't beaten them in about 7 years, I believe. Aside from the final last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, where have you been? And that's going to be a massive showdown. It's on. It's at Northwest University, which was the scene of the crime last year. We'll look forward to seeing that. That last game is definitely the game of the weekend, and look forward to seeing what happens. And I think, I call the UJ, Shimla's, Tikkies, and that last game I'd have to say Pika.
Awesome. We are going to take a little music break. When we come back, it's time to chat European Rugby, Aviva Premiership, Pro 12, and of course the Six Nations, which looks pretty much to be done and dusted now. You're listening to Driving Maul on Loud Radio. We'll be back after a little bit of John Cougar Mellencamp, Jack and Diane. Welcome back to Driving More live here on Loud Radio. We're here every Tuesday talking rugby from a fan's perspective. Sean?
Yes!
Where are we going? Aviva Premiership.
Yeah, we're going to jump straight into the results from the weekend. It was obviously a Six Nations weekend, so some depleted squads out there. Having said that, there are still plenty of talented Oaks running around that wouldn't be out of place.
Not at London Welsh.
No. Well, Perry's not there anymore. Do you see Perry Weepu left London Welsh there was a part of his clause that stated as an exit strategy on his clause.
If they lose 15 in a row.
He announced that because he's leaving for a French club at the end of the season, but he announced on the Wednesday that he was leaving Welsh and going to Wasps until the end of the season, and on Thursday he was on the bench for the Wasps. It was insane. But anyway, starting off on Friday night, Northampton Harlequins.
He's making Moneyball Williams look like a...
But he's eating it all, I can tell you that for free. That looks ridiculous, man. Anyway, it's the Kiwi version of Ricky January, let's be fair. But Friday night we kicked off with Northampton versus Harlequins. Northampton hosted the Quins, and the Quins haven't had a great season. Anyway, tight game. Saints won by 4 points. So
and I mean, we were chatting about it last week. We expected a Saints win, but it was you just thought with the Quins, with the Saints missing a lot of their Six Nations players, might come good after the horror season they've had, but not to be. Yeah, and then back in Saturday, there were all of the games except one were left on Saturday. London Welsh hosted London Irish and got absolutely drilled. There's a surprise. They took a 50-12 beating, and Jeb Sinclair still hasn't scored a try. That's diabolical. But someone who did score a try was Alex Lewington, who picked up a hat-trick. It's the 10th hat-trick of the season in the Aviva Premiership. And one player's got two. Which equals the record for an entire season for the Aviva Premiership, and with games still to go. Welsh have shipped more than half of them. Oh, really?
They've definitely been conceding plenty.
And then Exeter dumped the bathwater.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Exeter obviously on the way up, and Bath having a good season. That was a 16-6 win for Exeter. Donny Armand back in the lineup for Exeter. He's been off for a few weeks. I'm not sure exactly why. I think it might have been an injury. Then Saracens hosted Newcastle, and that we were chatting about this last week in terms of how it would help Irish out, etc. Only won 22-17, but I believe the weather was not fantastic. Leicester Tigers gave Sale Sharks a bit of a hiding, 28-8. I didn't see that coming, but Sale perhaps lacking a bit of depth, and obviously not having Danny Cipriani there maybe hurt them up a little bit. And then the final game of the weekend, Wasps at the new home Ricoh Arena, which has been phenomenal for them. They've been dominating. Thumped Gloucester 32-21. So where that leaves us at the moment is an unbelievable top half of the table.
Well, it's crazy because Northampton Saints are quite comfortably clear, 12 points clear of second place.
It's the next 3 points that are places that are a problem.
Yeah, well, it's not even the 3 places because it's 5 points between second and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the next 3 places are the knockout places, and that's where the issue lies.
And there's 6 sides vying for them.
Yeah.
With 5 games to go.
Well, basically what happens is Northampton are up on 60. In second place, Saracens are with 48 points, and a third side, Exeter Chiefs, 48 points, and Wasps in fourth on 48 points. So it's all points difference and whatnot going on there. So those are the top 4, all virtually on the same. Second, third, and fourth are all on virtually the same. Well, on the same points. Thereafter, it's Bath, just behind the playoff spots in 47 points, only a point behind them. Followed closely by Leicester, who are also on 47 points. So it's madness. Sale have kind of dropped out a little bit,
but they're only 4 points off with 6 games to play, so they could still sneak back into the equation.
It's crazy. And then at the bottom of the table, London Irish with only a 1 try bonus point to their name. They've taken 16 losses. Newcastle above them in 24th spot, and Newcastle and London Irish are fighting out for the second bottom spot at the moment. But it's crazy. For me, the big surprise is Harlequins and Gloucester so low down. But looking into the week ahead, all the international players are technically back. Whether they are released or not is a different story. But Friday night we open up with Bath Sale. Massive. If Sale want to get their season back up and running, they need to win against Bath, who are very difficult to beat at home. Then it's Exeter versus London Welsh. That should be 5 points for Exeter, so that's going to put pressure under the sides. The rest of the sides following. Harlequins host London Irish. Irish could roll them. Whether they do or don't is another story, but that would be a great result for Irish. Gloucester, Northampton. They're going to be hating the fact that they have to play Northampton, who are top of the log. The thing is, Northampton can afford to lose a game, so whether that affects them or not is a different story. Wasps Saracens, game of the weekend on Sunday for me. That's the big one. They are both on the same amount of points. They're both looking to push up a little bit, and both can't afford to lose the game.
Draw.
So, yeah. And then the other game on Sunday, Leicester Tigers travel to Newcastle to face the Falcons. Ideally, Leicester.
Who did you say Irish are playing this week?
Irish have got a tough game against Harlequins, but.
Well,
they're playing in London.
You say tough. They're only separated by 7 points on the log and one position.
Quins have more credibility in their name at the moment than their season, because they just haven't got haven't had a good season. But you can't not think that they're going to come right sometime. Irish coming off a great win. Hopefully they'll. I don't know. That'd be a good game to watch that. But yeah, the game of the weekend, Wasp Saracens. I can't wait. I'm hoping to hell. It should be on BT Sport, which means we'll get it here in South Africa on SuperSport, because they normally televise that. And that's that for the Aviva Prem.
Right, on to the Pro 12. And you can run through this quickly because I don't have a clue.
I'll just give you a quick rundown of what's happening. Munster have taken the lead on the table again with a win over Glasgow, who are in second, followed by Ulster and Leinster. So the Irish sides, all of a sudden, after being nowhere, have come back and are all in the playoff spots. Ospreys are in fifth, followed by Connacht, Scarlets, Edinburgh, Cardiff, Dragons, and then the 2 Italian sides, Treviso and Zebra, at the bottom. That's pretty much what's been going on. It's been a tough one. I know Lichtoring Landman had his hearing on Friday for that elbow that he put in a week and a bit ago. I spoke to him, and he's not in a good space. He was very upset and disappointed as to what happened, and I'm just waiting to hear in terms of the outcome. This weekend, big games. Ospreys Munster, massive games. Munster travel to Ospreys in that game. Scarlets Leinster, big game. And then Newport Ulster, also an absolute cracker. That's on Sunday. So yeah, that's that. That was brief, short and sweet for you.
Yeah, and then obviously top 14 comes back into play this weekend.
Correct.
And before we get into the Six Nations, just some of the games there. Oyonnax versus Toulouse. Toulouse could lose that at Oyonnax
because they're travelling,
and it's Oyonnax at home. Bordeaux take on Stade Francais. Castres Lyon, which is probably the big game of the weekend. Although you could say that Clermont Bayonne is right up there with the upsets at the Bayonne have been dropping about, most of them at home, but you never know. Clermont just don't lose at home though. Montpellier, La Rochelle, didn't even know La Rochelle were in the top 14. I haven't been paying
Pierre Grant plays for them.
Haven't been paying that much attention. Pierre Grant's still playing rugby.
Very much
Rossi
so.
Metro Grenoble and Toulon Brive make up the final fixtures on Saturday.
That's an interesting round of fixtures. I will not lie to you. That's there upsets all around there. But let's be fair.
Yeah,
upsets.
It's only an upset if you win away from home in the top 14.
Yeah, true story.
On to the Six Nations, and before we get to Sunday's big game, let's just deal with what happened on Saturday. And surprise, surprise, we've backed Scotland to be like a team that caused one or two upsets in Six Nations this season. Instead, they got upset 22-19 by the Italians.
And last minute tried to win it for the Italians.
Yes.
Unbelievable scenes at Murrayfield. And, Italy were pushing... I feel
and it was a penalty try. Let's also to clarify.
It was a penalty try after a number of issues with Mauls and stuff like that. But you've got to feel for Horn for Scotland, who had a penalty and didn't kick it out. From that, the ball went wide.
I don't feel for anybody that misses touch on a penalty kick.
True. That ball then went wide. Ben Toulis, who just made, I think he made his debut for Scotland. But anyway, the Australian-born Lucy stroke lock came on, infringed, yellow card. Thanks for coming. And then Italy were all over them since then and conceded a penalty try. So, yeah, Himone stained it, and that was that. And Italy grabbed a win there.
And then in Paris, Wales got up 20 points to 13 over France. Dan Biggar with a try that essentially sent them on their way.
Tight game.
Yeah. 6-3 half-time. You didn't miss much, to be honest.
Yeah, it was an interesting fight. But you know what I was having... Well, I'll discuss with you on
but what it means is that Wales are still in with a shout for a Six Nations title.
Yes.
Depending on how they go against the Irish in the next round.
Well, that's the thing, is the Welsh were supporting Ireland this weekend because they needed them to win. So, in order for them to stand with a shout.
And they hate the English.
And they hate the English. This is true.
And then on to the big one on Sunday. It was seen as a potential title decider, but England just didn't come to the party. Ireland winning 19-9. Ireland have now only scored 3 tries in the whole season.
What?
And they top the log.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
Dead.
I'm glad we're going to get into it.
Rugby in the Northern Hemisphere is dead.
There's no bonus point to chase, so there's really no reason to chase anything but a win. All Ireland needed to do was win. They didn't need to be flashy. They knew that they were going to get most of their kicks over. And England, for me, I think Stuart Lancaster, that is going to be the English downfall, is too conservative when they need to go and win. They can't make that step to get that X factor going. For me, Danny Cipriani should have come on with about half an hour to go. They have an unbelievable backline to set free. And
you'd play Danny Cipriani and Ruan Pienaar every week if you could.
Danny Cipriani is an exciting flower. If he kicks well and he runs more.
I don't deny that.
George Ford he was just stagnant for on the weekend for me. He played well, but he just wasn't exciting.
Like a stalled Ford.
But either which way, the way I look at it is a Cipriani type 10 is going to release someone in the back line or a forward that will give you front foot momentum. England won their last game. Have been winning their games in Wales and against Wales and stuff like that this year because of their loose forwards and their tight 5 dominating, and you can only do that. They were only able to do that by being on the front foot. They weren't on the front foot against Ireland. Ireland started monstering them, and that was that. The rest is history. Ireland put some unbelievable kicks ahead. Their kick chases
and hits on defence.
Yeah,
some massive defence.
Their kicks out of hand and their kicks from the bases of the ruck were so well chased, and it's the second time this season they've done it. It is becoming such a weapon for them. They did it against the Springboks in November last year. It has become such a great weapon because they are chasing them. The kicks are clever. They are thought out, and there's reason to the madness. Whereas a lot of other sides just kick for the hope of it. And Ireland deserve this championship so far, and I hope we are in for an interesting finale. But when are the next games?
In a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Sean O'Brien left on a stretcher. They were very worried about him for quite a period.
Did you see the physio holding him back because O'Brien wanted to go back on the field, and this physio is trying to hold him back from going, but O'Brien was tick heads.
Turns out a bit of concussion, so not as serious as the concern was to begin with. And what it means, as we said, with no bonus points and 2 points for a win and just yawn, like Ireland are top on 6 points, England on 4, Wales on 4. Now, essentially what it means with the next round of fixtures, where are they? We'll talk about this in detail down the line, but 2 weeks' time, obviously Wales play Ireland. If Scotland...
Where? At the Millennium?
Yes. If England give Scotland a proper hiding, which is possible, but at the same time it's England versus Scotland, their points differential will obviously improve from the plus 25 that it is currently. And if Wales give Ireland a bit of a working over, even if they win by 10, Ireland's points differential drop to plus 30. Wales's goes up to plus 15, and England's will obviously be on plus 50, and England will suddenly sit top with a round to go.
You're joking.
It's all still wide open, sunshine.
I don't see Ireland. I don't see Wales beating Ireland, to be fair, but the Wales seem to have that potential, and they're just not fulfilling it this season. So maybe they'll pick it up. But that's quite interesting.
Either way, we could go down to the final round of fixtures with 3 teams in it to win it.
And which ideally is what we want. Just because we want the Six Nations that's so boring for you to be a little bit fun.
And the final round of fixtures see Italy, Wales, Scotland, Ireland and England, France. So you'd imagine that if Wales go into that leading, they could end up running away with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that then. We are going to have a little bit of a Joan Jett double play, and when we come back, we're going to be talking Super Rugby and all the drama.
Before you shoot off, I just got an unbelievable tweet. I was chatting to Villages Worcester. Now, for those of you who don't know where Worcester is, it's almost a desert, and it's flipping hot. And I just mentioned him. I said, "Is it hot there?" He goes, "Yeah, you know it's hot when the guys from Sishen, which is Kimberley, which is equally as deserted and hot, when the guys from Sishen say it's hot." So, in for a cracking game of rugby this weekend, I feel. Anyway, that's Community Cup. We can discuss that next week again.
And is that where Hammies are heading to this week?
Yeah, we're heading to Worcester. It's going to be warm.
I saw a lovely tweet a minute ago, but I've lost it. Okay, time for some Joan Jett, and when we come back, we're talking Super Rugby and all the drama and the refereeing and all that cock. Welcome back. It's time for Super Rugby right here on Driving Maul. Sean, plenty to talk about.
Oh, man alive.
Where were we? Let's start with Friday morning's game.
Is a good place to start.
Highlanders versus the Reds. We did a bit of commentary on this one. And the Highlanders ended a losing streak to the Reds that had gone on for, I think, 5 or 6 games. And after the Reds' performance against the Force the week before, we really expected more. O'Connor at fly half, you just thought, well, there's an opportunity for things to happen. But not to be. The big Naholo scoring a try for the Highlanders after the Reds had led 13-9 at... Sorry, I'm lying. Highlanders led 9-3 at half-time. But yeah, not a hell of a lot to talk about aside from O'Connor and a bit of magic footwork at one stage. It certainly looked like he had the potential to come good, and we had a long debate around whether or not he'd be in a World Cup 30 for the Australians.
Yes, I still want to chat about that.
Well,
would you beat him in the squad, and in place of who? And
in a World Cup 30, it's got to go.
In place of their current squad, who?
Whoever's injured.
And if you got him in your squad, would you not? You'd
I
have
wouldn't
to
room him with Curtly Beale.
No, but if you've got him in your squad, you're putting him on the bench. You're not starting or not having him in your match day 23. So again, who are you going to put him in place of?
I don't know. I'm not really phased about it. I just think he will be in their World Cup 30 if he behaves himself and plays decent rugby. But I don't think he'll share a room with Curtly Beale.
No, and if Cooper comes back as well, fit and good to go, yeah, I don't know. This is going to be there. There will be someone crying.
And his name is Matt Tamura.
There will be tears.
Matt Tamura will miss out.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
As a 12,
he's a 10.
But they've been playing him at 12.
I know. That's the problem. And Lele Afana's at 12, who's been playing at 10. So they got no idea what's going on.
They're not playing Lele Afana at 12. At 10, are they?
Who? The Wallabies? I don't know. I've given up on where they play players because a guy can play 4 different positions for his Super Rugby side and then end up playing in a completely different one when picked for the Wallabies. Your guess is as good as mine. And then the one that is basically just unbelievable. Because if you had said to me at the start of the season, the Hurricanes will go on the road, play twice in the Republic and once in Perth, and be 3 from 3, top of the log with 13 points, and would thump the Force by 42 points to 13 in Perth after a trip to South Africa, I would have laughed at you.
Well,
and we said there's no ways they win that on the show last week.
Yes, I was going to say, forget about before the season you start saying that. I said it last week. I was like, there is no ways that they're on their way home now and have to stop via Australia, that they are going to roll the Force, who are looking that they need to come good, and they didn't.
Now, 15-6 was the halftime score, 42-13 was the final score. So they ran away with it when they should have been running out of steam.
Yeah.
And it's not like they played easy games in South Africa either. They were on the high felt for both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The Force is going to have a little look-see and see what's happening on that side. I'm very sure they will make some changes this weekend, and a few of them. But
I also, aside from the obvious, I think this is the first side to win 3 away games on the trot at the start of a season in the history of Super Rugby.
Well, I stand corrected. If they're not the first, they're definitely going to be the one of 2 or one of 3.
And if they're not the first, they've certainly done it the toughest.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
And then
Friday night.
Yeah, absolute crackerjack. Joe Peterson holding his nerve at the end to steal it for the Cheetahs, 25-24 against the Blues.
I just want to talk about that try. Cornell Hendricks. Unbelievable.
I didn't see it.
What?
I forgot to look at the highlights packages.
That's stupid.
Oh, well, there's been fires and smoke and stressed out wives and... Cornell Hendricks, which one? He got 2.
He got 2. His first one was unbelievable. The second one was a great bit of teamwork and some good shuffling by him and Villy LaRue and the guys. But that first try, the ball had to go wide, and Joe sent out a long, hard pass to Villy. Villy's had to reach for it, grab it with his one hand, and then popped it off to Hendricks, who's coming down the wing at pace, and he's just showing the ball to the defender as the fullback's coming, as he had another man outside him. Show, dummy, steps off his right foot and just gasses past 3 guys to go score under the poles. Brilliant. Try of the weekend, maybe.
Well, there's also the small matter of the Sara Pretorius effort, where Villy LaRue taps a ball down to him from an up and under that's bouncing around all over the place. Pretorius takes it, jinks inside, outside, back inside, round people, over people, and then stretches for the line to score. Not bad for a 30-plus on his way to Japan.
Yeah.
That was... And that basically kept the Cheetahs in it, because the Blues... it had been a bit of a toing and froing, but it looked like the Blues were going to see it out. Not to be. They concede a penalty after the hooter, and the Cheetahs snatch a win. Joe Peterson, cool as ice.
He's always been a solid kicker, though. For me, he's always been a great kicker and a solid kicker. He may not necessarily have the legs on his kicks, but he's solid if it's in range. And he's got a really cool head. And, just he's making the right decisions. He has an unbelievably awesome backline to play with as well. So and Kuni Oosthuizen's having a good season. He's starting to get all his doubters and his naysayers to shut up a little bit, because he's playing some decent rugby. So, we all wrote the Cheetahs off properly pre-season, and after losing so many players and having a few guys waft in and out of the other side, and they're looking decent. Can they hold on to it? We'll just have to wait and see.
On to a game that must have sent ructions through New Zealand.
Yes.
Because for the Chiefs, look, the Chiefs have been up there and decent for the last 3 or 4 seasons, but to thump the Crusaders 40 points to 16 it is quite something special. 5 tries to 1, and aside from that, the Chiefs had 2 yellow cards. Admittedly, one of them was near the end, and the Crusaders also had one, but they had a yellow card in the 7th minute, and again, it was the same as when somebody did something earlier in the season. Anyway, the Crusaders had a yellow card early in the Rebels, when the Rebels beat them. And usually when the Crusaders are playing 14 men early in a game, they put the foot down and they get themselves...
Close it out, yeah.
They get a few points, but unable to do it this time around. 40 points to 16. Not quite as much of a shock to my system as the Hurricanes win, but also still right up there.
Massive. And the thing is, I spoke to a mate of mine, Chucky, and he said to me, even when the Chiefs were a man down, they looked on top. And he said he's not seen that before. The Crusaders are in a little bit of a flat spin at the moment. I tell you, Sonny Bill Williams is important, and he's good, and he creates a lot, and he really is a good connecting player, good option at 12. Charlie Nagatai, for me, last week his performance at 12 was unbelievable. This week his performance at 13 was also unbelievable. That kid is on a massively huge upward curve. And another big problem for the Crusaders is, found out yesterday they've lost Robbie Fruin. I knew he broke his arm.
5 months.
But it was quite a serious break, and he's gone for 5 months now. And I was a bit upset, because I rate him. I'd like to see him at 13. They've been playing him on the wing a lot, and now he's going to be gone for the rest of the Super Rugby season. So that would be his New Zealand. That would be his All Black call up.
Done.
Done. That was
he will
his
not
World Cup gone.
He will not be an All Black
if he had a chance.
Yeah.
To be fair, but it was now or never.
And then we finally got a boring Aussie derby. It's taken 3 weeks, but it happened. The Brumbies getting up over the Rebels 20 points to 15. A Mike Harris penalty, one of 5 that he knocked over, securing a loser's point for the Rebels.
Rebels with a little fight back at the end. I think Harris had 3 penalties towards the end and put the Rebels in touching distance of a win there.
Well, it was 13-6 at half-time. A Jared Butler try took the Brumbies away from it. And then, as you said, Harris knocked over a couple of penalties to bring them back into the game. One of them was right on at the end of the game. But just other news from that one. Obviously, a run on return for Stephen Moore. And Jesse Mogg back in the picture off the bench for the first time this season. I just enjoy watching him play rugby. That's all.
I don't know. I kind of got caught up a little bit in the hype initially, and I was a little bit apprehensive to give the guy his just desserts, but he's not a Wallaby fullback for me. No. He's got a lot still that he needs to learn and do. Never
said he's in the running for international recognition, but he's great fun to watch at Super Rugby level when he's on his game. On to the Battle of Loftus. And let's get on to the first talking point. How is Bismarck du Plessis not before a citing commission after a flat-handed punch, is what they called it in the press, on Victor Matfield?
Yeah, I don't know. There were no sightings for 2, possibly 3 sort of punches, strikes, or whatever they want to be called, this weekend, where last weekend the Oaks were been sitting for like 5-6 weeks for issues with regards to punching. But I must be completely honest, and as a Shark supporter, Bismarck needed a week or 2 ban. That's not on, and I don't care about this. Like when they guys are discussing
Victor, it should have been an automatic 1 week just for touching Victor wrong.
The whole thing for me was like, he struck him, but he didn't make contact, or like it's bollocks. If you
slapped him in the face,
if you hit the guy and you go for him, then whether you hit him or not, it's a different story. You still, the intent was there. That's a red card.
And yes, and that's the point, is that they're under the new regulations. A strike to the face of an opponent with a hand is an automatic red card. That's the way it's supposed to be.
I agree with you. And they've gone upstairs. It's not like they've missed it. They've actually gone upstairs to discuss it. The other thing is,
did you see Bismarck apologise after they came back and had the chat? He puts his hand up and just waves at Victor, and Victor waves his hand back.
Yeah, you know what it's like in the heat of the moment and all that. And everyone's talking up Victor about his phenomenal game this weekend. I don't. Good game, yes. It was an exciting game. I thought Patrick Lambie, again, for a losing Sharks side, he played pretty well. The Sharks have
missed the toy looked the shit.
Yep. Beast.
He looked outstanding.
Pierce Spiss did his job, which was good to see.
I saw him inspecting a few rucks towards the end.
Yeah. Listen, give the guy a break.
But how was the strength from Jan Safontein for that try?
Yeah.
That was just brutal. Yeah. To get the bonus point try after the hooter. But I want to talk about what I saw and what I'm excited about, because I don't know where he's come from, but I'm going to hazard a guess they've plucked him out of Tukkies. Young Tian Schumann off the bench, a little blonde fly half with nerves of fucking steel to win the game with... the Bulls stole it with a try at the end.
Not to win the game, but he needed to make his kicks. He
knocked over a penalty to take the lead, and then he knocked over a conversion to deny the Sharks a loser's point, and they were both cool as ice and solid. And but the rest of his game, he took a high ball under pressure from an up and under. I'm very excited by what I saw running around there.
Good Super Rugby debut for the youngster, and he played Curry Cup last year. I think he might have been on the bench. He may have wandered on for the Bulls.
I haven't seen him play personally, but from what I saw in the 5 or 10 minutes he had against the Sharks to help close that game out, that's some big match balls that kid's got on him.
Yeah.
Final score 43-35, and it was, it was 23-16 at half time. The Bulls then ran away with it. I think they were leading 30 points to 19 at one stage. Sharks clawed their way back to lead.
Yeah.
And I thought, they'll close this out now with the experience they've got on the park. The bench was just stronger. Everything just said Sharks will get this. But penalty, Skuman, boom. And then Jan Safontein.
And then the Bulls had their tails up. And it was a great result for the Bulls. And they desperately needed it. Desperate.
The crowd was frothing by the end of it.
So that opens up this weekend quite nicely for the Bulls. But yeah, that was the Sharks probably would have looked at taking 4 points out of the game. Not necessarily 5, but they should have won the game.
Given the form that the Bulls have been in.
Correct.
They just and the lack of front row forwards versus an all Springbok front row, or was the beast still out? Anyway, there was enough experience in the pack in the tight five of the Sharks for me to think that Bulls side would come undone. But Andre Pollard dictated the game at 12. Lambie, as you say, had a decent game, but Pollard's distance kicking to keep the Sharks down in their half of the field was outstanding.
And the Bulls just basically turned around to everyone and said, listen, it's Loftus, and you can't just come here and win, So, yeah, and then last game of the day.
Do we have to talk about it? The Stormers took the lead for the only time and held on to it in the 77th minute to win 22 points to 19. There's not a hell of a lot else to talk about in this one except the ludicrous decision by the Lions. And the first one I can understand. They get a penalty pretty much in front. Time's up on the clock. They want the win. So they go for the win. But they don't get it. They get another penalty. Take the kick. You haven't got through the Stormers' defence. 2 points is better than none or one. And they ended up with 1, didn't they? Yeah. 2 points is better than 1.
Yeah.
I know they were going for 4.
And to get a draw against the Stormers, who this season, between the Stormers and the Sharks, are the SA teams to beat. And it was interesting. I feel for Hardem Nisi because I rate him. I'd like to see him do better. He was virtually over the line, and a massive hit by De Allender has put him down. De Allender's been playing well this season.
He has indeed, and those hands that we were told about by Brachi and Nick Groom are starting to come to the fore as well.
Yes, and I've been saying it, and he was going to step up into the 12 jumper. He would do just fine, and he's starting to do it. He's starting to cement his space in that 12, and we'll have a specialist at 12 for the Springboks, hopefully, if Heineke May is actually listening to this. What are the chances?
I'm going to go with unlikely. And another return, which was thoroughly enjoyed by me in particular, Siya Kolisi back from injury and looking very fit and very large.
And very focused. Yeah, Sia's got to up his game. I'd really like to see him be back to where he was. He's an unbelievable player, and he offers a lot. And the Stormers could not have got him back at a better time. They are struggling at loose forward and lock.
Now, that leads us into talking about this week, because obviously there are some big games this week, and we were kind enough to be led into. We'll start with the big one, because it is the big one.
Let's do it in order of time.
Well, we'll go with the last one first, because we're going to run out of time if we go the other way around. It's the Stormers versus the Sharks in Cape Town. Absolute crackerjack of a game. I'm going to be there. You and I are going to be arguing about this today and next week in terms of what goes on. For the Stormers, just the small matter of Ibn Etzebeth and Skalkberger back in the squad. Yes,
and it's not really an argument, because it's funny to say, but they're both my choice sides, and I'll. It's difficult when guys that we know are playing. So it's going to be tough. The Stormers at home are on another level at the moment. They're starting to make Newlands a fortress like it used to be. And the Sharks are reeling a little bit. They've had a really indifferent start to the season, and away from home aren't fantastic. So they know what it's like coming down here. Big battles the last 3 years between the two sides in Super Rugby and Currie Cup. So it's going to be a cracker, but I think the Stormers are going to win.
The Sharks, one thing they can't really afford to have is another loss, having already picked up 2 in their first 4 games, or 3 games. 3 games, yeah. 2 and 3.
Neither side can afford a loss, but the Sharks more than the Stormers.
Look, stating the obvious, no side can afford a loss. But the Sharks wouldn't really want to see themselves 1 from 3, having not played out of South Africa yet.
Yeah.
Right, and now we can go on to the first Kiwi derby on a Friday morning. Chiefs versus the Highlanders. I have a suspicion the Highlanders are going to get pumped by this Chiefs side, which is just going from strength to strength after struggling to beat the Brumbies. In fact, let's be honest, the Brumbies let them win.
Yeah.
That could be an absolute humdinger. Unfortunately, we will not be commentating on it because Sean has to be at the nuptials of his brother.
Yeah, my butt's getting married in the evening, and we've got a busy day ahead. But the Chiefs are dominating at the moment. You can't see them losing. That's the big thing. You actually just don't see them losing. And if you call them to lose,
side.
Yeah. And I tell you one thing, we spoke about it a bit off air, but I mentioned it a while ago. Hika Elliott, he's my man for a possible a recall into the All Blacks, because I'm not a massive fan of Dane Coles, who's had a pretty decent season.
Is
yeah. So
and Kevin Mialama is not going anywhere fast.
No, but the thing is, come World Cup, you need to. I think Hika Elliott's the man to possibly go on tour with the All Blacks, and he's a solid hooker.
So anything's possible. And this, you're right. I mean, Corey Flynn's injured.
Flynn's playing in France, so
right.
He's not. He's playing for Toulouse, so he won't be involved. It'll be James Parsons. So
I think the Chiefs will win that one comfortably. Brumbies force, I would like to say the Brumbies will win that one comfortably, but knowing the beast that is Australian derbies, you've got no fucking idea actually who might actually win it.
I'm going to go for the force again. Come on, boys.
No, I think they're done now. I think they overshot the mark with how they thought their season would go, and they are going to be... They will finish below the Rebels in the Australian Conference.
Whoa.
Blues, Lions. The Lions are on tour and will take 50.
Think so.
Yes, I do think so.
Oh, they got such a great team spirit, though. I think the Blues will win. It pains me to say it, but I think.
Look, we'll make our final calls in terms of.
Yeah, the nice thing is the Lions. They don't have the pressure of playing at home, and they also. The problem is
they don't win in New Zealand.
Yeah, okay.
Then the big game, the one that's the big Aussie derby, Reds versus the Waratahs. Lots of niggle and
it's a derby. It's a massive derby, and not just in Super Rugby. It's a derby in absolutely everything they do.
Yeah, the massive competitive
state of origins played between the two.
That is just ridiculous.
And the Waratahs are going to pump the living daylights out of them.
I would like to think so as well, but they are coming off a bye.
The Waratahs are going to give them 25.
Cheetahs, Bulls. I'm going to go...
This is a cracker.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go with like 54-53 in this one.
Sorry?
Let's pick a winner, but 54-53. There'll be like 9 tries apiece because neither of them are defending particularly well at the moment.
Looking forward to seeing how Joe Pearson handles Andre Pollard. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that centre combo... I'm just looking forward to seeing the backline players, to be quite frank. The Bulls have got a number of their front rankers back in the mix, and Kuni and the front rankers of the Cheetahs are also in coming into form. This could be the game of the weekend.
And a small matter for the Cheetahs boys of a bunch of regular starters for the Cheetahs turning out in blue.
I know. There's
just a little bit of extra motivation.
Yes, the 2 South African games could be the games of the weekend.
And then, as we said, it's the Stormers Sharks on Saturday night. Cannot wait to go to that one. Just quickly to run through the tables, because you have this weird thing with this conference set up. Oh my god! And you click the you click the link. There we go. So the Hurricanes, having not played at home yet, or even in New Zealand, sit top of the log with 3 wins from 3 and 13 points. To be fair, they're only ahead on points differential of 16 over the Chiefs, who are also on 13 points. The Stormers, surprise, surprise, have not picked up a bonus point try in 3 games, but top the South African Conference.
So, just can I tell you something? I was on Cape Rugby TV a couple of weeks ago, and obviously the big Stormers support and blah blah blah, and I was like, we need to be honest here. The Stormers struggle to get bonus point wins, and JP looked at me and he was like, "Excuse me."
But it's true.
But they didn't take too kindly to that. But the reality is even when they're properly on top of the game, that they don't get their bonus point wins. Having said that, now they're probably going to dominate on Saturday and get a bonus point win.
They have. I think I'll stand corrected, and I'll double check my stats for next week. But I think they've got 5 or 6 or 7 bonus point tries in the last 4 seasons.
Sure.
Yes.
You get those numbers together for us.
And then, as we said, Brumbies are third. Interestingly enough, the Cheetahs are the second best side in the South African Conference. But them and the Sharks are holding on to the wild card team spots. And then it gets all very tight after that. And obviously, Highlanders, Waratahs, and Cheetahs have only played 2 games. So the Cheetahs are actually ahead of the curve right now, with 2 wins from 2, and probably 2 that we didn't think that they would win, getting up over the Sharks and then the Blues. Anyway, lots of big rugby this weekend. It's going to be interesting for Sean watching rugby on Saturday after his brother's wedding.
Well, I'm going to be in Worcester on Saturday watching Hammies play Worcester. That's going to be a cracker, and I'm actually just a bit worried about the heat, to be fair. But I think the boys will stay there and watch the game, and then I'll make my way back. So I actually might be out of town for the game, but it's going to be a cracker.
Enjoy, folks. You've been listening to Driving Maul live here on Loud Radio. We'll be back next week. No commentary this week, as we said. Enjoy all of the rugby. Sean, it's been awesome.
Rock and roll. Thank you.
Talking about rock and roll, we're going to play out with a little Deep Purple.